What's up, this is Shaan. In this video, I want to talk about substance-induced anxiety or substance-induced panic attacks. Now, what does that mean? Substance-induced anxiety or substance-induced panic attacks essentially means somebody who's never really struggled with anxiety, somebody who's never really struggled with panic attacks, all of a sudden kind of develops their first panic attack from taking a substance. Now, the reason why I'm bringing up this specific circumstance or this specific situation is because it's actually quite common. I see a lot of people kind of get tricked into the anxiety cycle, the panic attack cycle, while they were just taking some drugs, whether that's recreationally or whether it was prescription. And the main point I really want to drive home in this video is a lot of times when people take drugs and they end up developing an anxiety disorder or panic disorder, even though they stop taking the meds, they're still struggling with anxiety, they're still struggling with panic attacks. And the real main point I want to drive home is a lot of times this is a clear classic example of it doesn't matter what kind of triggers the anxiety or panic attacks, you can still figure out how to get out of it fully. So if you don't know who I am, my name is Shaan. I struggled with anxiety and panic attacks years ago, managed to fully overcome it, and now I help others do the same. So stick around. So I see this happen quite often, which is when somebody's struggling with anxiety and panic attacks, they try to go to this rabbit hole of trying to identify what exactly triggered it and kind of putting a lot of importance on the trigger. And I see this happen quite often where a lot of times when somebody's struggling with it, they often go back into their past trying to find some sort of childhood trauma or something that may have happened in the past that may have developed some sort of predilection towards anxiety and panic attacks. And substance-induced anxiety and panic attacks is a clear example of the fact that when you have a trigger and it leads to a panic attack, even when that trigger goes away, you can still deal with anxiety and panic attacks. So the main focus is that the main trigger really doesn't matter. So the main point is that even if somebody stops taking that medication or stops taking that substance, whatever that is, and yet their anxiety is they're still getting panic attacks, they're still getting anxiety, that should be a clear indication that oftentimes it really doesn't matter what the trigger is. The main focus is not going into childhood trauma or stuff like that, because oftentimes it's not even there. They just get fooled into anxiety or get fooled into panic attacks. The main focus should actually be on recovering from anxiety and panic attacks, not going through this rabbit hole trying to figure out why this happened or what kind of individual you are. All those things are good, they're important, but they're not necessary in overcoming anxiety and panic attacks. Now, if you're wondering, okay, that makes sense, but how do I overcome it? How do I eliminate anxiety and panic attacks and focus on recovery? On the link below, I'll put in the description box literally my 5 steps on what I've used to fully overcome anxiety and panic attacks myself, but this is exactly stuff that I've had my clients use to overcome as well. Before, this was only exclusively with my clients, but now I'm sharing it with everybody. So much like substance-induced anxiety or panic attacks, oftentimes it doesn't really matter what the trigger is. It doesn't even have to be related to substance abuse. It could be anything. Whatever that trigger is, it's very possible that it easily resolved itself or has already been resolved, and now the focus should be on getting fully better. That being said, there are maybe a small subset of groups, individuals who are struggling with anxiety and panic attacks who do have some trauma or do have something that they need to address before focusing on the anxiety. With those people, I do recommend, obviously, working with a therapist or somebody to kind of get those things resolved before focusing on anxiety. But what I've seen in majority of people, including the people that I help overcome, is that it doesn't really matter what it is. The focus should be on full recovery. So hopefully this kind of brings you some insight. Hopefully this gives you some value. If you really want to know more, I have a private Facebook group down below. If you want to hit that link, I'm posting exclusive content, posting videos, podcasts, articles, just to kind of help you on your journey to fully overcoming. The link is below. When you hit that link, it's going to ask you for 3 questions. It's very important that you answer those 3 questions to the best of your ability. We want as many people in the group, but we're also trying to maintain the integrity of the group. We don't want this just to be another anxiety forum where people are just talking when they have high anxiety. These are people that are serious about overcoming. Hit that link down below, answer those 3 questions, and I'll see you inside.